Hi, I'm here with Nelson Vails. We just came out with a new movie called Cheetah, the story of Nelson Vails. So thanks for coming by, Nelson.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're here at the North American Handmade Bicycle Show, and I'd just like to ask you a few questions. So how did it come about making this movie?
Well, my friend, a couple of friends of mine and I, we got together and we decided not to write a book, but document the moment with all the social media and technology today. So instead of putting it in writing, why don't we create a video? And so that's where we came about of, all right, we're going to raise some money and start to travel and get together a bunch of my childhood friends and have them talk about me as a kid.
Oh, that's great. It's a pretty amazing story that you're a bicycle messenger and then became Olympic star. That's great. So how did you get involved in cycling? What turned you on to cycling?
Well, I got involved from family. My brother was a bike racer, and as a child, he got me a small racing bike. But like any other kid, on Christmas, I always had a bicycle to ride in the neighborhood along with my friends, and I just began to excel in it. And then it went to the next level, which was like club events, bike shop events, that got me really involved in cycling.
Wow, that's good. So when you're a messenger in New York and you were training for races, you said in the movie you were training in Central Park. How much training? Did you do double training?
I trained every day pretty much. You would call it training, but I was riding my bicycle every day as a New York City bike messenger, and at night we trained in Central Park. But with that said, it was just a matter of, we were a bunch of kids riding our bikes all day long, and it turned out that, training was like semi-races, but we actually raced seriously on the weekends.
Wow, that's great. So you did mainly road racing first, right?
Yes, road racing was my first, way before I got introduced to the track racing or any type of velodrome.
Oh, okay. So when you're doing training in Central Park and riding the bike for work, how many miles would you say you put in a day, including the messaging and the training?
Wow, it's hard to document the miles, from 8 hours on the bicycle each day. And that's not 8 straight hours, but 8 hours pretty much off and on all day. But it's really hard to document the miles in New York City of how much that could have been, 20 miles, 30 miles, something like that.
Oh, okay. So was there, when you got into track riding, is there a velodrome near Manhattan or New York?
The closest velodrome to me growing up, or just getting started in cycling, was the Casino Velodrome in Queens, New York. It was built for the World's Fair in the early 1960s.
Oh, is it still there?
It's still there. It's still racing programs going on. I believe it's been resurfaced, and it's still doing development programs.
Oh, that's great. So do you have a favorite velodrome you raced in?
I would like to say my worldwide favorite velodrome could have been, or still is, probably Moscow, Russia. It's a great facility. It's a tall track. It's about 30 meters wide. It's a very fast track indoors.
Oh. So how fast would you go around that track, top speed?
I've set some records at Moscow myself. American records was set in Moscow as being some of the fastest Americans racing.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So what's your most memorable race? Was it that Olympic silver medalist or was it something else?
My most memorable race probably was somewhere close to the Olympic trials, if not the Pan Am Games. The Olympics was, of course, a national feat, and it was a big deal race on the calendar that I trained very hard for.
Wow, okay. So how do you find the transition from being a road rider to a track rider?
That transition from being a road rider to a track rider came pretty natural, because once I was introduced to the velodrome, I've done all the different events that they had to offer, and the endurance events didn't work as well for me as much as the sprints.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Oh. So since we're here at the North American Handmade Bicycle Show, are you a bike nut? Crazy about bikes?
Being here at the North American Handmade Bicycle Show, I've always had a custom handmade built frame. In my younger days, it was a road frame, and then once I got a little bit more serious, it became a track frame. And they were all built by the artists, the very artists that are here today, that are probably a lot older now, along with myself, but they were all hand craftsmanship frames built for me to race on.
Oh, that's nice. I wish I could have a custom-made frame to my body. So what was your favorite bike, if you had one?
My favorite bike, wow, I had so many. You know, of course, my Raleigh Olympic frame built by Mike Milton back then, but then my original racing bike when I first started racing was a Richard Sachs. Tom Killiger has built me my racing bikes as well, and we've had tandems built by him as well.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. But I guess when you start riding professionally, you had to start riding the Japanese bikes?
When I started riding professionally, I rode the Japanese bikes when I first got introduced to Japan. So San Rencho was one of my first and only sponsors in Japan, racing and riding.
Okay.
So with that said, those were all custom handmade built bikes as well.
How do they compare to the American bikes?
Well, I don't say it was a comparison. It was another bike that I've ridden, and they were all great frames. I mean, you know, there was not one bad frame that was custom built that I have not ridden.
Oh, okay. Do you still have that Olympic bike?
I still have my Olympic bike. It's in storage at home in New York City with my family.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah, someday it'll be displayed in glass. If I can rebuild it, that'd be great.
Oh, that's great you have it, because I guess most guys would give up their racing bike or move on. But that's really that's a collectible item for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So last question, what are you working on now, and how do you think the future of cycling is going?
Well, I'll start with the future of cycling. I think it's back on the rise, especially road cycling for the recreational cyclists. The bike racing scene is always going to thrive. There's always someone new coming up. And as far as you know, the future of the whole cycling movement, it's definitely on the rise, especially with the craftsmanships. You got a lot of people buying the carbon bikes. I ride a carbon bike myself that are made from a mold, but there's so many people that are buying handmade craftsmanship bicycles as well, and I totally support that, and someday I'll have another handmade built bike.
Oh, that's great. So I see you're sponsored by FSA?
Yes.
So how are you involved with them?
Well, I'm sponsored by FSA, and I'm involved with them with the components. And what you have is a lot of components are on these FSA bicycles today, whether it's the bottom bracket or the headset. And the bottom brackets that FSA produce is it's the 360 model, fits all frames, whether it's a carbon frame and or a handmade steel frame. And I believe a lot of the builders use their product as well.
Okay. So what is this Ride with Nelly?
My Ride with Nelly program is it's riding with history. As living American cycling history, it is now time for others to document that they had an opportunity to ride with me. So I actually host bike rides within rides where we just ride together. I'm not racing anymore, and it's all on a recreational level.
Well, that's great. It's a great contribution to cycling, because I'm sure a lot of people like to ride with you. I mean, you're Olympic silver medalist, and it's not too many American medalists.
No, this is true. So there's always going to be a Ride with Nelly event in your neighborhood with the local bike shop or club. So find me out there on nelsonvails.com.
Okay, thanks. I hope to see you around. Maybe you'll drop by San Francisco and we could go for a ride.
I hope to visit again soon.
Okay, well, thanks for dropping by and letting me talk to you at the North American Handmade Bicycle Show. This is Yeoman Fong signing off. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.